Hello. Thank you so much for joining us for this presentation of the exhibition film, followed by a discussion. My name is Christina Helmick, and I work as the curator in charge for the Department of the Arts of Africa, Oceania, and the Americas for the DeYoung Museum, and I'm part of the curatorial team that has brought you this exhibition. I'm so pleased to be joined today by Robert Geary and Sherri Smith-Ferry, my co-presenters. We're sorry Mayo Marfuo could not be here today, but we look forward to a discussion after the film. It's 9 minutes, and I'd like to acknowledge our digital department. So the film was a project of the digital department here at the DeYoung, and we worked with The Range, Anna Rao and Corbet Jones, filmmakers who helped bring this to fruition. So thank you, enjoy, and we'll be back to talk to you after.
When I leave out of town and I come home, I come to the mountains and I see the two peaks on Konocti. That gives me a sense of now that I'm close to being home. And it always just has a feeling inside that doesn't give that to me anywhere else. When I was younger, we would walk by mortars and see things that were kind of like left by our ancestors, and just knew that was who we are. That was a part of us. I can walk out my door and walk down to the lake and still see mortars and pestles and arrowheads, and then I'm connected to that. We've always been here at Elem. Our word for our people is Umtimfo, and that's of the Elem people. Where we're at, Lem Taukalo, which is, the Elem village that's here. It's different from, the Eastern Pomo, Central Pomo, Coastal Pomo. We're all individual nations. The Southeastern Pomo were all tribes that lived on islands. And we were known as Khamfo, which just means water people. But Khamdot, Alamadan, and Khoimadan were all Southeastern Pomo villages that were on islands. As a community, we strived because there was Khabtin is what we call the lake. It just means big water, but for us it was a huge resource with all that it provided.
If you imagine this place without all of the houses, and you look out on the lake and you imagine a lake filled with tule elk and thousands of birds, and you see all of these things in your mind's eye without these houses, people must have lost their minds when they came over, and that's why they said, I want this. This is mine.
Tavernier's painting of the roundhouse and the dance inside, it's a very ironic image in a lot of different ways. It's this moment of cultural encounter where you see people coming in to a native homeland and engaging in the business of extracting natural resources. I think it's fascinating that you have the banker and the overseas investor in the dance house during the ceremony. And they are really representing one side of what the ceremony is trying to, sort of eradicate or certainly protect Native people from. So it's definitely a painting that's bittersweet.
The ceremony that's depicted in Tavernier's painting is a newer dance that they call Mofomche, and it just means the people's dance. It was something that came after contact, I think, with the dying off of a lot of the Native people due to the diseases and enslavement, starvation. The Mofomke was a dance that was to protect everyone from this. When you enter ceremony and you're a part of ceremony, you're this dancer, whether you're a dancer or whether you're a singer, everything that's, that you're dancing for is for the betterment of the community, the betterment of the people. My dad used to say, this is what makes the water flow and the wind blow. Without this, it wouldn't happen.
The dances that we hold are to renew our earth. They're to renew our people. The people give prayer to our Mother Earth to fix itself. As a Pomo, I can appreciate all of the things that went into this painting, and it shows a lot of the beauty of who we are. But at the same time, you have to understand it for what it is, which was the contamination of an entire side of a lake. And then you go, oh, well, how did it affect those baskets that are in the painting? How did it affect those dancers that are in the painting? How did it affect those mothers that are in the painting, those children, those men? Elem Indian Colony actually sits on the mine tailings from the Sulphur Bank mine. So what that means is that as they were digging, all of the little contaminated leftovers they brought over here to the tribe and left them out. And so that causes mercury poisoning. So basically, when this mine was open, it poisoned this entire land. You put poison into a land, you're harming your whole lake ecology. So Pomos are basketry people, which means our plants go in our mouths when we process our basketries. So as we're doing this, we're putting possibly contaminated things into our mouth. So then you're seeing mouth cancers, you're seeing things that are happening with your teeth. So it affected everything.
One of the things that basketry enabled Native peoples to do is to perpetuate this real personal connection with the land, the homelands. So the baskets are a real reflection of extensive ethnobotanical knowledge on the part of Native peoples. Really just thousands of years of living with the plants, studying the plants, experimenting with the plants. You really had to understand really intimately the life cycles of everything that was around you and work with those. One of the things that's so interesting to see in baskets that were made before 1800 or in the early 1800s is how large those baskets were. And what that tells you is just how abundant those resources were in the landscape because people had that much material available to them. It helped me understand the scale of change that's happened in California to the environment in just a short period of time. But it also showed me what a huge impact removing Native peoples from the landscape in terms of being able to tend to the land, the way that they once had, has also had on that landscape. Tavernier has done a remarkable job of capturing the drama of a ceremony and the roundhouse. And it really is this very immersive experience. I think there's a very satisfying feeling about that, sort of like a hug, you know, that round shape. Especially in the roundhouses that are put down in the earth. There's this real feeling of almost being in a basket.
The vision that came for the roundhouse, that it was this basket that was supposed to be in the ground that was going to save the people from all the catastrophes that were going to happen. That's the reason why that it's, you know, in the ground.
I'm sorry that people that are seeing the exhibit are getting just a bare glimpse of what the actual experience is like and the power of it. And that power is what helped us survive.
We as indigenous people were always looked at as in the past and not looked at as us being here today. But people need to know that regardless of everything that happened, the Elem people are still here in Lake County. Those ceremonies that are in his work of art are still happening today, and that's special. I'm glad to be a Lem man from this place, to walk next to things that my ancestors left behind for me, and to know that my children are picking up ceremonies and the things that are happening so that people just understand that we live in today's society. We're not something of the past. We're here today.
Now I would like to invite Robert Geary and Sherri Smith-Ferry to come to the stage. I know they have some reflections to share, and then would be happy to take questions.
So thank you all for coming. I was going to just start out with a little bit of an introduction in terms of our thinking as we were talking about. So the exhibit has been a real collaboration in terms of working with curators from the Met, working with Christina here at the De Young, Robert and myself and Mio Marufo, coming together, trying to really flesh out the story that you can see in Tavernier's painting. And I think especially for all three of us on the Pomo side of things, it was very important to be able to make this something that people knew today was we were still here. The painting is not something that is depicting something that's long gone and people that are gone and ceremony that is gone and a place that is gone, but we're still here. And what is that place like and who are those people? And so we thought, for especially some place like New York, where people really often barely know where California is, much less, what kind of the outback is like in California. We wanted them to be able to see home and to be able to see the setting of this painting. And we also wanted them to see us and to know that we're still alive and the communities are still here in our homelands. And we also really thought it was very important for people to understand the legacy of the actual event that's depicted in this painting that has so much to do with sort of an environmental catastrophe that happened to the lake with the coming of the mining. And it's still an EPA Superfund site. Hopefully they can, I know that there's supposed to be some money set aside soon, so hopefully it will not be, but we've heard that for a long time now.
20 years.
Yeah. And we thought it was really important for people to understand that the legacies of those early times are still very much a part of impacting our lives today, and not just Native lives, but all of us who live here, who this is now home for. So we thought film, being able to just give people a glimpse of that would be something that we could do in the exhibit that would hopefully contextualize and deepen the experience of people coming to the exhibit. And I should say, Robert very kindly hosted us, and that is his backyard that you're seeing there. And Anna and Corbet, the filmmakers, we were fortunate they had worked with California Indian people before, and they essentially shot all that footage in a day. And so they were very efficient, I have to say.
No, as soon as I think we got asked to be a part of the team for this, this exhibition. It was definitely something I know that the three of us was really happy to even be asked, because normally when you get a piece of art, especially when it has to do, with tribal communities or, a tribal, landscape, there's really no perspective from the people that you see in the landscape. And so, I think it was really important for us to tell that side, because it was, a time, I think, that was within, especially California history. You had the gold rush and, people were extracting natural resources and really didn't care about what it was affecting later on down the line. And so, even though we look at that, it's still affecting Clear Lake today. everyone. It's not just affecting native communities, but it's also affecting, the non-natives that, bought land and have a house there and everything else. So now it's a bigger picture. But, for us, I can honestly say from, the Elem perspective is that, there were ceremonies that were, being seen by our cultural leaders that were given to us, I think, that were, to protect us as far as, what was to come. And I'm just, and I tell, my kids and everyone this is that, we're a part of that prayer that had happened from those visions. And we're here today because of that. And so that responsibility as far as the ceremonies and those kind of things that happen, according to us in our culture and our traditional ways, that now it's our responsibility to keep those going and to pass those to the next generation. So, when I see the painting and I see this landscape of what's going on and what's happening, I'm thankful to the painter for his vision and the things that, he portrayed in it. But then I'm also thankful for the people that were a part of it. And, I'm talking about the dancers and the community and, everything that's in there, even the roundhouse and the structure itself. I'm thankful to see, a sacred space that basically is caught in time. You hear the stories from, all of my, ancestors or, from my elders about, how we got to where we're at today. But when you see this vision that is basically put on canvas and you see what they're doing, when you get an opportunity, take a really good look at the painting, and you can see the facial expressions and you can see kind of what's going on, that I know from the stories and the history told from our people what was going on and why those looks that are on some of the faces. It's fear, not knowing, uncertainty. Those kinds of things are in the hearts of the people, not knowing where, like I said, they fit in because of a lot of things that had happened up to that. So I'm really happy to be here and basically tell the story from a tribal perspective of what was going on when this happened. A lot of people don't realize that, we're a part of history too, but our stories are never told. We're Pomo people, but that's not my word for my people. That was a word that was created by an anthropologist, Corbet, that came when, he came through and learned 2 Pomo words and said, I'm going to put them together and call all you guys Pomo. You hear the word, in there when I'm saying Timfo. That means native people of, my race and my color and where I'm from. That's my word for that. So when I hear Pomo, I do take pride because it's been there so long, but I also understand from my elders, that's not the word that describes me. And so I try to make sure that, my kids understand that. I try to educate people about things. When they hear Pomo, it's a Pomo word, but it wasn't something, all of us have our own word for ourselves. And it's important to understand the distinction between all of us and not to, kind of umbrella all of us. That's what makes us unique, our beliefs, our cultures. Even though we all have roundhouses, I tell everybody, we have roundhouses and we do this, but when you go from one village to another village, you come in a certain way, or there's certain protocols that you follow, and they're different from each place. And so that's the respect that we have for one another. And I think that's the respect that we're fighting for today, for public to look at us, that we're individual nations, and to respect us in that same way.
And if I could follow up a little bit on that, I would, just one of the first discussions we had, kind of, as I recall, with the curators, was about the title of the show. which was Jules Tavernier and the Pomo. And we're like, but really, you don't want to call it that because A, there is no Pomo, and B, this is at a very specific place in a very specific community at Elem. And, we know that. And so we, as much as possible, we need to make what we surround that painting with at least representative of that community. And it's different than where I come from in Pomo country, which is in Sonoma County. It's different than on the coast. And I think that was our first big kind of educational challenge.
Well, I think that's what makes it, really the story I think behind it is that's what makes it special. And I can, honestly say, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I think this was just a platform to really, in a start, to educate, I think, a lot of the other institutions that have items from a lot of different places, and to know how to deal with tribal communities and listen to their cultural and their traditional values, because that's what's going to come to the table. And that's what's important to tell, because that story's never been a part of the story, right?
And I would say that probably one of the other conversations we ended up having a lot was we were each kind of brought in for different areas of specialty. So my particular background is particularly in studying basketry. Robert was really representing the Elem community and particularly, ceremony there. And Mio is from the lake too, and she was really, her area of expertise is environmental. And what I think became quite clear early on is that all of those are sort of meaningless distinctions. Basketry, you can't talk about baskets without talking about the environment and ceremony, and it all kind of interconnects in ways that go beyond art history or anthropology, and it's a more holistic picture. And I think that's a Native perspective.
Yeah, so I think, it was really well-rounded. And like I said, I think with this exhibition, it's really kind of set apart from a lot of other, exhibitions or shows for that fact. I think about, what we wanted to bring to the table and who we wanted to bring to the table. And I think, the most important thing I think that we all pushed was, we're here today. Let's bring these people, Clint McKay, who's, a basket weaver, cultural leader, you name it, he is it. And, that those people, are still around. Corinne, who's doing baskets. Sherri won't say it, admit it, but, she does baskets and, but it's still happening today. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize, because we aren't looked at as individuals from different places. We're just kind of, oh, well, you're Native American. My kids get this all the time. Oh, you guys live in teepees, and you guys, go to powwows, and all of these things, and that's what
hunt the buffalo.
Oh yeah, and yeah, the buffalo. And here, our kids have to deal with this because of not being educated about all the different nations. And like I said, California is unique in itself for the fact that, there are 109 federally recognized tribes just in the state, federally recognized. And like I said, I think the last I looked, there was like 60 that are applying for federal recognition. And so understanding that dynamic, I think even from just Lake County, there's 7 tribes that are there that are around the lake. And I'm related to all of them, so, I can't do anything bad anywhere. So, but I think that's one of the things, is just to even understand the dynamic just in a small place. As I go out to the coast and go out into the valley, those are all my relatives too, through intermarriages and, you know, things happening. And so we're all, you know, even though that we're all connected and, you know, but we're from these different places, the cultural value tells us where we're from. The language tells you from where we're from. You know, when I do my introduction and letting you know that when I say Wechen, Robert Geary, my name is Robert Geary, and I'm from Elem. You hear Elem in there, and then you hear Buck. And so here's a linguistics class. I'm going to give one real quick. So the Buck is a suffix to let you know there's something of ownership, there's possession there. And it's actually put on the back of Elem. And when you break that down, what it's telling you is that the land of Elem, the place, all of where it's at, owns me. I don't own it. And it's a suffix that lets you know that it's something that can't never be taken away. So if I said weak, like I'll call it the weak, like that's my car. There's no B on buck, there's just weak. My car can be repoed anytime if I don't make payments, right? So there's in that, it tells you a cultural value that I was born there, I was raised there, that's my community. I'm related to people that are outside of that community, but I only go by the rule of my village, and that's what I go by. I have no right to speak about something that's in another village. Even though my mom might be from another village, I have no right because I'm owned by the land of Elem. And so with that cultural value, that like tells you us as Native people, you know, those are the really important things that we have to teach from generation to generation. And that's what kind of came up when we were talking about, well, we can't say Pomo because it's specifically for one place. And so, you know, we kind of had to bring those perspectives, you know, to the table. And I'm, you know, really happy, you know, that we all work together without killing each other and you know, got, like I said, you know, the jet lag and everything else, and, you know, and to be able to see all the beautiful work of, you know, regalia and basketry, and it's beautiful to see all of the old things, but what really, you know, warms my heart is to see that it's still happening today, that we're blessed to have people like Clint and Sherri and Corinne, and, you know, there's, you know, Silver Galetto, and, you know, there's, you know, there's even SEBA. A lot of people don't realize, you know, this California Indian Basketry Association. And so it's out there. You know, there's these programs and there's these organizations that, you know, we have to try to make sure that we sustain what we got. And so I'm just really, you know, honored to be a part of, you know, this team, you know, and I'm happy with how it ended up.
And we'd love to take questions if people have some.
Up at the top, can you repeat the questions too? Top left, Sherri.
Can I talk? Can you hear me? Okay, we went to the powwow with Moscone Center. I hope that's the right term. I'm sure it's not, but at any rate, I met one of the speakers there, a wonderful guy, I can't remember his name. Huh? Larry. And he says there's a movement going on that's disenfranchising certain Native Americans from a tribe, and he was very strongly opposed to it. And he told us to come up there to a roundhouse to support that, people that are fighting that movement. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
You really want to talk about tribal politics? You know, it's, yeah, we don't have enough time here. But no, you know, every community, whether we like it or not, because, you know, we basically got a system that was put onto us that wasn't our system. You know, and there are some roadblocks that are in the way that really make it hard to balance both the traditional side and the political side. because the U.S. government won't deal with this until only if we have a political side, it makes it harder. And there is, in a lot of places, that's why I said, if you want to know something traditionally and culturally, don't go talk to the chair. Go talk to the cultural leader. Go talk to the people that are doing the ceremonies. Go talk to the people that are doing the language. Go talk to the people that are making the baskets and have that knowledge. Because if you want to know about who we are and what we're doing, those are the ones, and it's usually us who don't speak up. We're just kind of, hey, we're I hate to say this, but we're the mules, right? It's like just keep adding on more and we'll just keep doing it. So, that's going and gathering on our own, or cutting wood on our own, or tying feathers on our own, or doing whatever we're doing on our own. That's just our job, and we know what our responsibility is. So there is a divide, I think, politically, within tribal communities. But it's because we are told that we need to act as our government acts. And we all know how well that's going, right? And we just don't know it, So there is, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that are going on, and we just got to keep going on. Traditionally, the cultural things is, to the cultural people, that's all that matters. As long as I keep dancing, speaking, weaving, singing, whatever it is, that's all that matters.
And I think one thing you learn really fast in tribal politics is chairmen come and chairmen go. And council members come and council members go, so just hang around.
If we had a full group of Native people here, we would be you'd hear a roar of laughs right now.
Oh, there's somebody right there.
I have a question, and it's a question about the Elem Pomo in particular, but about Native peoples in general. I'm so grateful to have this window into Elem Pomo culture. I want to know how you, Robert, and you alluded to your children, how do you navigate being an Elem Pomo in the larger world that we all live in? Do you understand what I'm asking?
How do I maintain me being me in this world? It's a lot of laughing and joking, because other than that, I'd probably lose my mind if I took everything serious. But I was fortunate enough to be raised around a lot of elders, and I always have to tell this to people when I say, and I'm telling the stories about, I remember learning this from my mom. It was really my grandmother. In my mother's age, in that generation, relocation happened then. So we were pushing everybody off the reservation and getting them back into mainstream society and into these inner cities and giving them a trade. A lot of those elders said, we ain't going. We're staying right here. And, we were fortunate enough that they did that. We were fortunate enough, like I said, I remember playing or not being able to play because there was no one there for the elders to teach. So we were I remember looking at all my cousins, we were all wanting the same things. Well, why us? Why can't I be out there with him? Let me go get him and I'll send him in and then he can take my place. It's just one of those things. But that knowledge that's there now today is valuable. So I tried to reach and try to teach my kids that, it's not, because of who they are, it's not going to be an easy road, but that it's important for them to know and to understand who they are, where they're from, and to just try to be as transparent and educate people about that. Don't be mad because they don't know. Be mad when they know and they still come back and they act that way. Be angry when that happens, but you can't blame them if they don't know. And so that was one of the reasons I think that we had kind of came together and said, let's do, this exhibition to the best of its ability. Let's give them our perspective. And I think we did that pretty well. So it's hard. It is hard. It's hard.
I just wanted to thank you both for coming here and giving us your
Thank you.
you, both of you, anytime, because I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be related to both of you. But so I'll say hiya kamino and I thank you, Robert, for your words. Isa no shia huita hanechuik, my people that come from Dry Creek, and when you talk about your words that you said this morning and how special that painting was because that's your family, and you know, I just want to say that, you know, there are several of us from our community that probably have relatives that were there.
Yep.
But I can only try to imagine what that means to you, knowing that that's all your people. That's all your family there. And what you say about Pomo is true. You know, what word do we use and what do we say? And my people are onatsates, and that means the truthful ones, and the people that speak the truth. And so I talk today because that's what we believe. You have to say things. Don't keep them back and keep them quiet. So I just want to say thank you to you for, I know this is your family and your community at Elem, but you've incorporated and you're standing for something that's much bigger than just Elem. That's incorporating all of our Pomo, if you will, community and beyond. And I just want to say here in front of everybody, because, you know, cultural people and cultural leaders, you know, we hear things and people do things to us, and we have to stand together. And I'm trying, trying to keep my eyes dry here. But I just want to say how much your community and my family really appreciate the work you do. And I know the load that you carry. And you do it with pride, you do it with respect, and you do it with honor. And you carry a lot of our community with you. So thank you for everything that you do for our community.
Yeah, we.
It'll make me cry up here.
Yeah, you may have answered this question, I don't know. I spend a lot of time up at Clear Lake Oaks because I have friends there. And I was just wondering, you know, every time I go I learn about another atrocity, another horrible,
I'm sorry.
horrible thing, you know, that the people experience there. And I just wonder, I mean, and I get upset. And I wonder how you and your people tolerate that rage, that anger, that, you know, and
Yeah.
I just wondered, you do that.
What's going on in that roundhouse right there, that's how we tolerate it. You know, you know, a lot of people don't think too much, you know, when certain seasons, you know, all Native people, they all know, like, oh, well, you know, the leaves are starting to drop. Something's that's special. It's also an indicator when something needs to happen. You know, there's going to be a change in this world, whether, you know, the leaves are going to fall, and that has to happen in order for the next one, the new leaves, to come out. So to give thanks for that. And so, you know, just as those natural things happen, and a lot of people don't think, like, but it's natural to be angry. You know, it's natural, you know, to be upset about things. But the thing is to make sure that, you know, you're always in a place that you can do what you need to do to get past that. And that's what ceremony does. You know, when we're all in the roundhouse, I sit there and I think, and I look at all my relatives that are here, when I see them singing or dancing or talking. And that's what it is. That's what it's about. Because we always sit there and we think, okay, we're going to the roundhouse, and I'm going for me. Traditionally, that doesn't happen. I'm going there for everyone else. And everyone else there is going for everyone else. And I'm included in their everyone else. So that's how we take care of one another. So when I see them singing and I see them dancing and I see the sacrifice that they're making, it fills my heart, because I know that they're doing that for me.
And I was going to say that a lot of the work I do is looking, kind of doing oral histories, looking at early field notes, early newspaper accounts, early settler accounts. And there's a lot of awful history there. And really knowing and hearing stories in our family of really, really hard times, and people survived them. And that with that survival really came a responsibility to, that was not easily won. And I'm the generation that, generations after us really need to honor the sacrifices people made. Just to hunker down and birth the next generation and survive. And I think about my grandparents who, when I was growing up, there were these kind of casual, horrific stories that would come out sometimes about their experiences in life, and yet they were very generous people. They were very content. They did not have much, but they really enjoyed life. They loved their families. They I think enjoyed life much more than people I've known that are fabulously wealthy, And I always thought, if they're not angry, I have very little right to be, if they're not better. And I've always tried to keep that in mind, that graciousness and that generosity, and know that, as I think they did, that we all need each other.
Yeah. No, like for us to think about from that time to this and everybody in between, I think about say my mom, and I used to see when I'd see my mom and all of her sisters in one area, it'd be the loudest and they'd be laughing and they'd be having a good time. And here, I know from our house, either we didn't have enough of something or, but when you got them and they were together, none of that mattered. And I remember them saying that, it was just like a cold. If you're mad, it's like a cold. They referred to it as a sickness. And if you were next to somebody, it's just like coughing, right? That person will get angry too. So not to contain it, right, or not to hold on to it, but to do what you needed to do to make sure that you fix that sickness before you infected somebody else. And so I know, when my cousins are here and they're from from my mother's side, we had they had it harder because they were my mom and their grandmother, they were half Hawaiian, and so they weren't even accepted as being even in the colored communities, because now they weren't even full Native or full whatever it was. So they were a strong bunch because they never forgot that identity and always told all of their children and grandchildren to be proud of us being Hawaiian too. Even though we're raised in the Lem and we do the ceremonies and everything that we have, but we also have the connection. And it's kind of ironic because we come from a place where our traditional lands were an island, and then boom, we're also a part of the Hawaiian side that we're on an island, right? So, that's why I think we were good swimmers, So, but no, it's a hard balance. But we're here today. Like I said, I think the things that we have the ups and downs of tribal politics, but you know what? None of that really affects that house or those ceremonies, because all of us, when we're feeling down, we know where to go. We know where the place is, the medicine that will fix that. And so that's why it's so important to keep it going. There's somebody up there.
I think we have to leave it there because just want to thank you all. We have another performance in Wilsey Court at 4 p.m. And so I want to give people time to make their way there. But maybe Robert and Sherri, if you want to come up, and they might be willing to answer one more question on the stage. But thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Oh.